Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a while. I've kind of been going through a lot spiritually, like emotionally, and also physically. So, yeah. I don't know if it's really like the downloads, just like the energy that we're going through, if it's just me personally. But I've been going through like a lot of like ego death, and I think well, that's first of all, that's the topic of the video today. But as well, it's just kind of something I just really wanted to kind of maybe just release because personally, I just feel kind of not necessarily like obligated because that's also what I'm going to talk about today. Obligations. But like I don't know, it feels like it's right for me to kind of just share this with the world. Mostly again because I want to release it. It's probably just the way energy flows. You have to let go of certain things and talking about things really helps you release like what you feel, what you know, and just what you're going through. So I think it's just kind of best that this happens naturally like this. But again, so what I really wanted to talk about today was like ego death and kind of getting lost on your path, especially when you have ego death, because I think that's probably one of the most intense experiences with like spiritual awakenings that, we don't necessarily talk about too much because individually, ego death. It's its own experience. Like everyone experiences ego death like differently based on like what they've experienced in their path to currently and then their past lives, and also just like it's really intense some of the things you find out about yourself and the universe when you go through these experiences, because it starts making you really think about these intense topics like my most important experience, and I just experienced this just like a few days ago, was really like the whole simulation talk. Like when we talk about like being in a simulation and being like, energetically connected to like everything around us, it's really hard to understand. Like at first we feel like we can really comprehend it, but it's a lot more intense to comprehend than what we really admit to ourselves and to other people. It's a bigger topic than anything else, honestly. Like there's nothing really else like it is what it is. I mean, you just at some point you come to an understanding that how the world connects, especially when you start realizing that there aren't real coincidences in the world. Everything happens for a reason, and you start finding like your soul partners, these karmic connections, these spiritual connections with other people, and you even see these identities that you like resonate and familiarize yourself with other people around you. Like personally, like me and my best friend, she's noticed things and I've noticed things about our connections. Like we look a lot alike. First of all, we have very similar names, we have opposite signs. So essentially me and her are like, soul partners. We're like soul twins. I'm like, extremely connected with her. We found each other on our paths, through school. So obviously, well, coincidentally, I'll say coincidentally because it's a definition, but it's not necessarily what I mean, because I don't believe in coincidences. But anyway. So my point is you find these people that have these similar situations to you, have similar soul paths and life paths that you really kind of connect with people, and it kind of makes you really wonder about the universe and how it really works, especially when we talk about like simulation theory. But like with like simulation theory, it really kind of it first of all, again, it's kind of hard to comprehend that we're all connected energetically to other people and places and situations and things that happen in our life. But at some point, like naturally on your path in life, you just kind of you dissolve away from some of these like modern definitions that society creates for ourselves and for other people, and you just kind of you kind of disassociate yourself from those types of things. You start to realize why you've never really like really found yourself connected to certain things in pop culture and just like modern society. You've always kind of stood out and kind of felt apart from something may have been like missing in your life. And so that type of thinking just kind of really kind of attaches to you like emotionally more than anything. And like when we get attached to like trying to answer these like really big questions in life, like it can really eat at our soul and really kind of take a part of us without us realizing it. So it's again, it's hard, and it's not necessarily something I would really ever. I definitely suggest that people should find their soul and, kind of go through the whole ego death thing, but I'm not really going to say that, like, I wish that upon anybody, because, like, personally, it's a really hard thing to go through, and I'm not saying that not everyone can go through it. I think at some point, in some way, everyone kind of does go through it, but, like, I don't know, there's just certain things that we're not really meant to understand or really know about ourselves as a universe, because really, again, back to like the whole simulation theory, like the whole reason I personally believe that, this world was created was for us to explore ourselves and explore the universe and just kind of, be here and create without these types of boundaries and limitations and definitions that we create. Like everything, as far as like you can go back in my older videos, like religion is all kind of like all religions and all kind of belief systems really kind of reflect off of each other, and that goes back to like the whole simulation theory where everything is essentially a reflection of each other. Like we're all here energetically as one person, or one entity, I should say, not one person, one entity. Like if you ever go and like look into like Christ consciousness and those types of like theories and stuff, and how we're all consciously connected. However, there's boundaries and barriers that we create so we can have our own personal identities, our individual identities, that we can, find ourselves connecting with each other. And it's really hard to understand the whole free will process, and I think that may be like one of the most confusing aspects of spirituality, is that we're here as consciousness, as energy, and we're all connected, but we also have free will, and we're also able, or my personal belief is that we're kind of connected on this path that we've kind of predestined for ourselves. However, there are other doorways and other pathways that we can choose based on our free will and our choices and what we want for ourselves and our experience. But that's like a whole other topic. It really is. But my point is there's a lot of things that come with spirituality that, I just personally don't believe any individual will ever have answers for, because that's not the point of this universe. It's the exploration, the questions, the uncertainties, the unknowns. That's what the whole experience is really about, and just kind of, just being. Like, at some point, like when you go through this ego death, you start to realize that your spiritual path was really great, don't get me wrong, but some of these things that you went through and you tried out, like maybe like me personally, I did go through like this process of like wanting to try witchcraft out and experience witchcraft, spirituality through that. And don't get me wrong, because I love witchcraft. I just personally would never really, I don't think I would just go around calling myself a witch, just because I just personally don't really resonate with definitions, and that's just me personally. But like, I totally love the whole witchcraft vibe. I like the whole natural aspect, and I do like the intent behind witchcraft, because I think that's mostly the most important part of spirituality is setting correct intentions for yourself and what you want out of life. And I think that's like the greatest part of witchcraft, is because it really can allow you to create these intentions for yourself where you really start spiritually aligning yourself with certain goals, and also physically, mentally, psychologically, whatever. Like, that all starts aligning for you energetically, and things just start to make a lot more sense, and doors start to open for you when you set these intentions through like spellcraft and jars and writing things down and doing things naturally. It really helps with that intention, but at the same time, it's something that you really have to be careful with, because when you do start opening these doors, a lot more questions and a lot more darkness can be opened for you, and that's when we can really get lost in ourselves and the universe around us, because it becomes very uncertain and scary, and a lot of fear starts to kind of take over. Like, we can tell ourselves how strong we are throughout everything we've been, but at some point, no matter who you are, you have to accept that there is fear that comes along with the uncertainties. But that's also something that you have to understand as a part of the process and the beauty. And when you can figure out a way to understand that a little bit better, and you just start to reconnect yourself with the path and your friends and your energy, and start to set these positive intentions for yourself, and realize that you don't have to define yourself as some, like, hippie or a witch or, religious. You don't have to have these definitions to be somebody. And when you disconnect from that certain aspect of life, you can really just free yourself. And I know it sounds silly and it sounds maybe easy to do, but it can't always be easy, and it isn't always easy. So it's just something that we have to go through individually to understand, and also understand that we need help from other people. And when we set these intentions and these vibrations, and we start to let loose of these barriers and these societal definitions that people have created over years, and you just kind of separate yourself from everything and just spend some time alone first of all, and then also just disconnecting. One, it can lead you down a dark path. It really can. So that's something you have to be careful and be, wary, and, guide yourself with, and also ask for help, because that's a very important part of the universe, is asking for help and connecting with other people, because that's why we, kind of branched out and turned ourselves into these little energy entities that are all around us. So that's also something that you have to understand. And what's also really great about witchcraft is the whole grounding process. Like, I totally love grounding myself. I mean, I personally wouldn't just go around just saying, oh, I like to ground myself or whatever, because these are definitions. They don't really matter. But when we realize, like, the aspects of it, when we're looking at the, just the beautiful aspects and things that we enjoy. Like, I personally have always, even before I started to go with these definitions of like grounding myself, I've always personally loved walking outside and being outside in nature, listening to the birds chirp, and just being around life. So, when you kind of associate that type of, I guess, definition of things, then you can really start to understand it a little bit better. But that's not really the point at all. It's just actually just doing these things and again freeing yourself, because that's the most important part of the story and this experience is freeing yourself and just being whoever you want to be and being okay with that. Because when you free yourself from modern society and definitions and expectations from other people and yourself, then you start to experience life a lot differently, and things become energetically aligned for you and a lot easier. And not necessarily always just easier, but it does become a lot more freeing when you don't have these like expectations for yourself. However, you still find a way to inspire yourself, because it's the expectations that create stress and worry and uncertainties for ourselves. But when we have, this, freeing aspect where we don't really have an expectation for ourselves, but there's certain things that we just want to do, right? Like we know that we want to go camping and we want to go on that trip to, a show, a music show, or you have this like art project that you really want to do, or this music project that you really want to do, and it becomes freeing. It just becomes the experience, and it just becomes something that happens naturally for you. And then a lot more vibrations come towards you and certain energies, and you'll pick up on this too, because I with all this COVID stuff, I really started to kind of separate myself from society, because the whole mask wearing thing was just not really something I'm into. But when I kind of just let go of that and just kind of you know just had this certain vibration where I just didn't really care anymore either way. Like, it just became something that just didn't really, like, it was my individual choice to do it outside, and I have that experience to do it outside. And I started to stress out about it less. Like, there's still certain things that get to me, of course, but I really try to not have that stress and just try to kind of separate myself from society with that certain, politics and the whole, war between people and their belief systems. I try my best to stay away from that, because it just allows me to attract better vibrations and better positive energy from other people. Like, I've really started to notice that, like, when I let go of that, stress related to everything that's happening politically and in society, where everyone's kind of separated, I've separated myself from that completely, and I've just kind of, went back to experiencing my life again and not even worrying, just experiencing my own energy and being in my own bubble. Not necessarily, completely staying away from people either. Like, I'm not saying that I separated myself and that's when things became easy. I just let go of everything, and then it became easy. Like, and certain, like, people just started to, give me compliments on different things, and just had better energy, and I saw this energy just kind of come towards me that was a lot healthier for me and for other people. So I was, getting attacked less publicly, and people were, there were a lot less toxic things that were happening around me when I let go. So that's my point, is the whole letting go process. It can be difficult and it can be hard to really understand what letting go really means. But when we figure it out on, individually, it opens more doors for us, and it allows us to experience our own life again, and that's when more positive things happen. So that's my point with that. And back to like the uncertainties and the dark process, the ego death process of spirituality. A lot of uncertainties can really kind of leave us in the void. But that's something that we also have to understand, is it's our responsibility to walk back out of the void. The void exists. The void exists for a reason. It exists for us to explore ourselves, our creativity, the possibilities with the universe. However, it is also something that we can personally get lost in, and it's something that we have to learn to step right back out of, so we can come back into this world and take the knowledge that we've learned from the void and bring it back into this experience, and use it as the tool to guide others, guide ourselves, or whatever our intent is. We don't have personal expectations again. We've lost those expectations when we went into the void and we had our ego death. So we just start to experience life differently, and things become, simpler. I think that's really what I wanted to talk about today. I hope the message kind of, resonates, or it just helps somebody out with their path, especially somebody who's lost, because I know what it's like. I've been lost on my path before, not just recently, but I know my most recent ego death and all the spiritual stuff that I've experienced recently has been very intense, and I know that other people have had shared energy. So I really hope that this helps you with your process. And, if you do have any questions, especially about the anxieties and, the toxic sides of the spiritual process, feel free to, let me know, hit me up on social media, because we can go through those certain things, because there's also lots of things that we can learn from each other too. So I've learned that on my spiritual path, that everyone I've kind of come along has kind of had a specific message that I needed to learn at that certain time, or it kind of broke apart and I learned what it meant throughout my process. But anyway, my point is we learn from each other and each other's experiences. So I hope that this helps you guys. And peace, love, and good energy. Again, reach out, not even to me, to other people, if there's something that you are going through spiritually and you feel connected with, because there's a lot of crazy energy going on right now, and there's a lot we can learn from each other, especially with these doors opening. So just keep that in mind. Love you guys. Bye.